you say the Pledge of Allegiance?
Of course.
I was earlier today.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the August 16th meeting of the Planning Commission. Roll call, please.
Vice Chair Samut.
Here.
Commissioner Marshall.
Here.
Chair Peterson.
Here.
Commissioner Biasotti.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
And Commissioner Mishra.
Here. I'd like to ask Commissioner Biasotti to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda item number 1 is approval of the minutes of July 19th.
Through the chair.
Commissioner
A
Biasotti.
motion that we approve the minutes from July 19th,
Is there a
2001.
second?
Second.
Moves and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Communications, staff.
Just one on the roll call. I missed Commissioner Chase. He is scheduled to be here, so he should be here shortly. And just the normal communications that our whole packet is online in the planning section of the community development section of the website, sanbruno.ca.gov. The minutes are there from last time, as well as the agenda and the staff reports.
Very good, thank you. Agenda item number 3 is public comment on items not on the agenda. If there's any public who would like to comment on items that are not there, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll move to agenda item 4, announcement of conflict of interest. Do any of the commissioners have a conflict on an item that they'd like to mention at this time? Seeing none, move to agenda item 5A, which is 980 Easton Avenue. Request for a use permit to allow an addition which increases the gross floor area by greater than 50%, cumulatively 67% per sections 12-230B1 of the San Bruno Municipal Code. Staff report, please.
Thank you and good evening.
Thank you.
As stated, the applicant has applied for a use permit to allow an addition which increases the gross floor area by greater than 50%. The subject site is located on the east side of Easton Avenue between Forest Lane and Euclid Avenue. The site is 2,500 square feet and is currently developed with a one-story single-family dwelling. That single-family dwelling consists of 644 square feet of living area and one detached garage. The applicant is proposing a first and second story addition to the existing single-family dwelling. The first floor will be remodeled and will include 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a large entrance hallway feature. The detached garage will also be demolished and will be attached to the single-family home. The second story will include 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a living room, and a kitchen. Altogether, this would be 1,275 square feet of living area with an attached 200 square foot 1-car garage. The project was reviewed at the July Architects Review Committee meeting. At that meeting, the committee forwarded the project onto the Planning Commission with a favorable recommendation with staff recommendations to include the correct garage dimensions, 10 feet wide by 20 feet deep, and to incorporate a decorative band along the south side elevation and the rear elevation. The applicant has updated the plan set accordingly. Additionally, the Architecture Review Committee also asked the applicant to revise an internal stairwell connecting the first and second story living area to meet building code standards. The applicant has since updated that stairwell. It does meet building code standards, and a cross-section has been included within your plan set. Overall, staff does find that the character and scale of the home will be consistent with other single-family homes in the neighborhood. We do find that it is consistent with the residential design guidelines. Specifically, the second floor is utilizing some facade articulation techniques found within the residential design guidelines. Most notably, that second floor will be set back 2 feet 1 inch from the first story below on the north side elevation. Additionally, as previously stated, a decorative band will be incorporated along the south side elevation and the rear elevation, which will help break up that 2-story mass there. Additionally, the window type and trim will be consistent on all elevations. Staff did send the courtesy notice and the required 300-foot public notice, and we did not receive any comments from concerned neighbors. Overall, staff is supportive of the project and would recommend that the Planning Commission approve the use permit request subject to findings of fact 1 through 7 and conditions of approval 1 through 24. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Does the commission have questions for staff? No? Thank you very much for your report. I'd like to open the public hearing and invite first the applicant. If you have any comments, please come forward to the podium. And if you don't have any comments, please come forward so that the commission might ask a question. Staff, is the applicant here? Oh, okay, there you are. Excuse me. Please give your name and street name for the record.
My name is Gloria Lee.
Okay.
I'm the designer for 980 Easton Avenue.
Very good. Do you have any presentation? It's not
I
required.
think Matt explained everything here. I don't have any more comments, but I'd like to answer questions. If
Thank you
have.
very much. Do any of the commissioners have questions for the applicant? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public who would like to comment on this application? Please come to the podium if you do. No? Seeing no one and without objection, I'll close the public hearing, bring the matter back to the commission for discussion or a motion.
Through the chair.
Commissioner Marshall.
I talked to Matt earlier today about not just this one, but also the other project. I believe starting July or August, Matt or Aaron can correct me if I'm wrong, that CO detectors are now required, and so maybe we could put that in the boilerplate with the fire extinguishers, or not fire extinguishers, but the smoke alarms.
Sure, correct. They're required on each floor of a residence.
Right, and are they I know on retrofitting, it's not a hardwired, but as a new construction, is that hardwired also?
I don't know that answer offhand. I think the law actually just stipulates that you have to have them in your home, but we'll double check with the building official.
Thank you.
But I'd like to ask staff, well, on an item like that, it's covered by the building department during the construction and inspection, right?
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, there's several conditions that are covered under other laws. Some conditions are good when it's new laws, just to give people heads up early on in the process, and I think conditions of approval serve dual purposes sometimes, to give people heads up as well as state what planning conditions are in there.
Okay, thank you very much.
My main concern with that is for not so much the newer houses, but if it's hardwired is required, it could be a big expense for homeowners if they're doing additions, if they're going to have to hardwire CO detectors in.
I'll find out and report back.
Good point. Thank you. Any other commission comments, or is there a motion?
Yeah, through the chair.
Commissioner Samut.
I'd like to make the motion that the Planning Commission approve use permit 11-009 based on findings of fact 1 through 7 and conditions of approval 1 to 24.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Marshall. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, and there's a 10-day appeal period. Now we'll move on to agenda item 5B, which is 114 Acacia Avenue, a request for a use permit to allow the construction of a new home which increases the gross floor area of the existing home by greater than 50% to 63% and exceeds the 44% lot coverage requirement by 1% per sections 12230B1 and 12230B3 of the San Bruno Municipal Code. Staff report, please.
Thank you. As stated, the applicant has applied for a use permit to allow the construction of a new home which increases the gross floor area of the existing home by greater than 50% and exceeds the 44% lot coverage requirement. The subject site is located on the east side of Acacia Avenue between Santa Lucia Avenue and San Felipe Avenue and is currently developed with a one-story single-family dwelling. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing single-family dwelling and replace it with another one-story single-family dwelling. The home will contain 2 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, a living room, dining room, and a kitchen. The home would consist of 1,621 square feet of living area and a 309 square foot one-car garage. The project was reviewed by the Planning Commission by the Architecture Review Committee at their May meeting. At that meeting, the property owner to the north of the subject site, who resides at 118 Acacia Avenue, was present and expressed concerns regarding the original design, specifically the overall height of the project, as it would block the view currently enjoyed to the south and would have light and air impacts. If you would, there's an attachment included within your staff report, Exhibit D, that displays the original elevations of that original proposal, so you can see the elevations there. Additionally, I would like to point your attention to a graphical image also included as Exhibit D, showing the original roof ridge in relation to the side property of 118 Acacia Avenue. So you can see that roof ridge was blocking 2 of the second-story windows at 118 Acacia Avenue. That's primarily what the property owner was concerned with. At the Architectural Review Committee meeting, the Architectural Review Committee discussed a number of different ideas to reduce the overall height of the roof ridge, but ultimately recommended that the applicant and the property owner work with one another to resolve this issue. Since the Architectural Review Committee meeting, the applicant and the concerned property owner have worked very closely with one another. They have redesigned, they've gone through a number of design revisions and finally agreed upon a cross gable roof design. And this does one major thing: it limits the height of the overall home. So instead of being 19 feet 8 inches, the new cross gable design maxes out at 17 feet 2.5 inches at the front gable. The rear gable would max out at 14 feet 3.5 inches. So this preserves more of the view that's currently enjoyed by 118 Acacia Avenue to the south, and also allows more light and air to be available to that property. The concerned property owner has since submitted a letter with a number of questions regarding how height is measured in the overall planning and building process. This was included was handed out to the planning commissioners prior to this meeting. Additionally, staff's comments and responses to those questions within the letter were also distributed to the planning commission. Staff did contact that concerned property owner today, and we did address some of the items mentioned within the letter. The concerned property owner was satisfied with staff's response and now has a greater understanding of how height is measured in general and has a greater understanding of the planning and building process. The property owner is no longer opposed to the proposed addition. In regards to the specific lot coverage entitlement, staff really looks at one thing, and that's if there's a good amount of open space on the lot. And in this particular case, we do find that there is a good amount of open space. They have a 15-foot front yard and a 23 to 25-foot rear yard. So we do find there is adequate space in the rear, overall on the site. Staff does find that the addition is consistent with the residential design guidelines. For the most part, they are incorporating horizontal hardy plank siding, which is a common feature in the neighborhood. Additionally, the home will also incorporate a shed dormer on the front elevation, which will provide additional architectural interest. Furthermore, the windows and window trims will be consistent on all elevations. With that, staff is supportive of the proposal and recommends that the Planning Commission approve the project subject to findings of fact 1 through 7 and conditions of approval 1 through 26 within the staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any commission questions for staff?
Through the chair.
Commissioner Marshall.
I'm confused, Matt.
Yes.
Are we looking at the front elevation with the 1 long dormer or the 3 smaller dormers?
So Exhibit D was the original design that the Architectural Review Committee
That's
reviewed.
with the 3 dormers.
That's with the 3 dormers. So the proposal before us tonight is 1 shed dormer and is included as Exhibit C within your staff report. So it includes a cross gable roof design with that front gable running in the north-south direction and the rear gable running in the east-west direction. And that's included as Exhibit C within the staff report, the proposal before us tonight.
I don't have Exhibit C, but I think it's this one here.
Exhibit C starts with a plan view of the lot, right? And
Correct. Exhibit C, the first page of Exhibit C is the site plan, which shows the subject site and the properties to the north and south. And the elevations, the proposed elevations, are located on sheet A4, which is hard to see, but it's in the lower right-hand corner of the page.
So Exhibit C is more than 1 page.
Correct,
Yeah,
Exhibit C is
okay,
the entire
simple.
plan set, site plan, floor plan, elevations, and
Okay, I
roof
got
plan.
you. So it's the one long dormer then, okay.
Right. Any other questions of commission for staff? Thank you very much, staff.
Thank you.
I'd like to open a public hearing and ask if the applicant is here, please come to the podium and give your name and your street name for the record. And if you wish, make a presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Al Maher here, and my wife Jan, and our architect Jerry's here, as well as our neighbor Eileen is here that had the complaints on the original design. When we made the first presentation to the Architectural Review Committee, they reviewed it, approved it, and we were moving forward. At that time, Eileen, the neighbor to the north at 118, had some concerns about the view and light, that design was impacting her home. She hired an architect, and we had our architect, and we all met in her property and looked at the proposed design, how it would impact her home and her views. We came up with a few designs which we didn't like, and Matt mentioned several. There were 6 redesigns which our architect did, which we, over the course of about 30 to 45 days, decided that it was an okay design for us. Eileen and I met, went through it. We installed some storyboards up to show the dynamics of where the roof line, ridge lines would be. We looked at it with a cautious eye. The redesign removed some of the dormers, as you saw. We have a shed dormer still remaining to keep some of the look of the home. We also removed and lowered the major ridge, which was impacting her view the most, the roof line that was basically running from north to south. We lowered that when we reconfigured the dormer. Along with that, we changed the orientation of the ridge line to east and west, more or less. That, coupled with changing the pitch and the design of that roof, lowered the roof line, ridge line, down to approximately 1 foot higher than the existing home that's there now. Eileen and I looked at that. We erected storyboards to those heights, and Eileen had indicated to me at that time that it looked okay. She still had some concerns and questions, some of which are in the letter that you guys have tonight. I think Matt has given a good display of what we intend to do or hope to do, and I think that with the compromise that we've made with our neighbor, I hope to be a good neighbor, and hope you guys can see that I think we've done everything that we can to accommodate, the neighborhood, the design, our wishes, and our neighbors. Our architect's here if you need any questions. Jan and I are here for any general questions. Thanks.
Very good. Wait one moment, see if there's a question. Any commission questions for the applicant? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Beaver.
Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public. Wait, is there one? Oh, okay. Please give your name and street name for the record.
Hello, I'm Eileen Aslan, and I'm the neighbor in question. I live at 118 Acacia. And before I start, I want to thank the Mahers, Janice, and Al for their cooperation and their flexibility. It was really a wonderful thing to work with people who are willing to compromise, and I believe we did. I have no objection. I'm the one who wrote the letter to Nat earlier. And in that, the first Exhibit A is the written one that Al showed me that he then visualized by putting up the storyboards, which is next. And this we agreed to. However, I found that in looking through the agenda, on the last page of the section C, there is a drawing which shows 15 feet instead of the 14.1 that was presented to me. And is that an error? Should that be there, or is it a collation error, or what?
Yeah, that was just an error in the report. It should be 14.1, and that's noted in the correction letter to the Planning Commission.
I didn't see the correction letter. Okay, fine. Well, then I have no objection at all. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who would like to comment on the application? All right. Without objection, I'll close the public hearing, bring the matter back to the commission for discussion or a motion.
Through the chair,
Commissioner Johnson.
I just really want to comment on, acknowledge the applicants and the neighbors that when you do come together and work through things, you will be neighbors for many, many, many years. And for the purpose of public to recognize and see that it really makes sense to meet and to have discussions. And sometimes you have to go through some peaks and valleys to get to that point. But in the big picture, it's a win-win. And this is a very, very good example of that win-win combination. And I really appreciate hearing both sides. It was a very thorough presentation. The storyboards make a huge difference in being able to see what the picture looks like. I appreciate as well having Eileen here to present her side and hear your points of views and clarifications, and you did an excellent job. And I'm very pleased. I want to acknowledge Matt for his presentation, the thoroughness of working on this project. I'm certain that it was a combination of staff doing this, and this is a really good example of making a planning commissioner's job just pleasurable to do this work. So thank you for that, and I want to acknowledge the team for all of this. So,
Go ahead, please.
I don't know if there are any comments. I'm looking around to my left and right, and if there are no comments, I'm happy to make a motion that the Planning Commission approve use permit 11-004 based on findings of facts 1 through 7 and conditions of approval 1 through 26.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Chase. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and there's a 10-day appeal period. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
The next item of business is item 6, discussion. Item A, city staff discussion.
All right, the first one we have is September 15th. Who would like to be on the Architecture Review Committee? Commissioner Biasotti, Commissioner Chase, and Commissioner Marshall. Perfect. All right, the second one is I'll just kind of go over a few, some development activity that we have in San Bruno right now. The first is an update on, you may remember a couple cell sites that were approved at the Planning Commission level. There was one on Maple that was approved near Parkside School, and there was another one that was approved in Grundy Park. And there are several iterations of these applications that went through the Planning Commission until we got to the point where they were approved. Well, we'll start with the Maple one. The Maple one was going through the process, and there ended up being a neighborhood protest about this. Someone who had not received the notice because they were renting, but they rented a home right near the one on Maple. And the person contacted T-Mobile as well as contacted the press and had some online petitions about this. It did get some press coverage related to the protests. It ended up that T-Mobile, the city staff, even though it was already approved and the concerns were more health related to cell sites that aren't in our jurisdiction to deny applications or review applications, city staff did make contact with T-Mobile and sat down with them to see if there was any other alternatives. It turned out they were going to have to replace the entire pole because the pole wasn't structurally safe to hold the antenna, which overran their costs for the site, so they ended up scrapping the project. So the project went away for other reasons, but I guess it met the protesters' needs as well. The site on Grundy, that one was approved by the Planning Commission, is now undergoing structural review by our building division, so that should go forward soon and be constructed soon. Regarding some updates on large development, I think one that was before the Planning Commission on a couple occasions, the Cedar Grove project on the corner of Pepper and Cedar, 599 Cedar. It was the former Peninsula Christian Fellowship Church site that burnt down in 2002. 14 single-family homes. It's originally by a small developer that the church worked with that got approved. Lennar Development, which is I think the nation's first or second largest developer, purchased the site about a year ago. Got approved by the Planning Commission several months ago, I believe in April, to make some changes and new designs. They've sort of broken ground. They've started removing some of the trees that were up there that are necessary to build the homes, and they're aiming to start construction on their model homes sometime this year. So that one is going forward. It's also now known as Cedar Mills, not Cedar Grove, because I guess there was a copyright claim on the Cedar Grove project. So they took up the Mills name from the nearby subdivision and incorporated it with the Cedar name. So it's known as the Cedar Mills subdivision now. Pacific Bay Vistas, aka Treetops, that is still going forward. They're in the final stages of their HUD application process. They're still looking at an October construction date. They have their private financing as well as the HUD-backed mortgage insurance all set up. So the neighborhood could finally see some relief of having that abandoned apartment complex in their neighborhood for the last 5 years. So continue to update the Planning Commission on those two projects as we move forward. Regarding Glenview, as you know, there are 38 homes that were destroyed. 6 homes are now under construction. If you haven't had a chance to go through the neighborhood, it's great. Their homes are already framed. They're moving forward. You have great contractors up there that are moving it forward at a brisk pace. Some homeowners are aiming to be in their homes by the end of this year, early next year, so it's going forward quickly. So there's 6 homes under construction. There's another 5 that have recently been approved by the Architectural Review Committee that are either in structural review or about to be in structural review. So I could say by the end of this summer, mid-September, there could be up to about 11 homes under construction in the neighborhood. There's another 13 homes that are in a pre-application review process that are in design with an architect, and there's another 14 that are that are to be determined. Either thinking about selling to PG&E or in a situation where they haven't yet decided if they're moving forward or not. There's been 6 homes that have closed escrow with PG&E. 3 of those homes were of the destroyed lots. 2 of those homes were yellow tagged lots, and another home was of a green tagged one. So those are owned by PG&E at this point. For the yellow tag ones, we've asked them to proceed with fixing up those homes as soon as possible so they don't continue to be a blight on the neighborhood. So one of those homes is under construction, doing some repairs, and the other one should be under construction soon. The 3 other homes that they own, which are destroyed lots, that's something that we'll continue discussions with them and outreach to the neighborhood to see what type of construction they'd like to see on those lots as PG&E acquires them. Of the 17 yellow tag lots, 4 have been, all the construction is completely done, so people are living within those right now. There's another 10 that are under repairs right now, so people should be able to live within those homes soon. And there's 3 that are either in design or construction should begin soon. So that's kind of an update overall of what's going on. Where inspectors are up there on a day-to-day basis. Our planners are speaking to the homeowners on a day-to-day basis. So it's still something that we're involved with, and it's great to see that the neighborhood is moving forward. And there also will be one-year memorials on September 9th and as well as on September 11th. And more details about that will be made available to the public as we proceed. So I could take any questions about any of those topics.
Commissioner Marshall.
Quick question on the Parkside School. I mean, I knew they were going to remodel the school, but like one of the other commissioners told me about to drive by there the other day, and I saw a 2 or 3 story structure going up there. Was the city giving courtesy of plans or is that just bypass us completely?
Yeah, we had one meeting with the contractor, as they were finalizing the design. There was some neighborhood outreach that they had independently, but I guess fortunately or unfortunately, depending on what your view is, they're under the jurisdiction of the state department, the state architect's department, and not under the local zoning authority. But so they basically get to proceed on their own.
But different structures like the post office years ago and different, the Caltrain, I mean, they're all in the same jurisdiction, but they had the courtesy to at least.
Correct. It's a little bit different for school buildings. School buildings kind of follow within their own certain category. So, yeah, but I know they did have some neighborhood outreach. I can't judge, how well that neighborhood outreach was undertaken because I wasn't involved with it. But yeah, there is a big structure going up. There were trees removed. There's some traffic impacts related construction vehicles, and I know they were under a tight time schedule as well because they want to get it completed before the school year began.
Well, another thing was that one cell tower, one of the options was to locate somewhere on the school property, which they said would be too expensive because we have to, do too much work at the school. Well, when they were building a brand new school, it would be probably pretty easy.
Yeah, I don't know all the details of what went into their construction bidding.
Through the chair.
Commissioner Chase.
I happen to live right across the street from Parkside, lucky me. They had the outreach, and it was okay. A lot of the neighbors did attend, but the scope of the work that is actually occurring right now is a little bit more than I think what we all pretty much expected. When suddenly there's a 2-story steel erected building like just staring you in the face, you go, wait a minute, I don't really recall that at all. But you're right, they have their own, their own agenda, and they have their own way of getting through it. And it's going to be nice. The school's going to be, I'm sure it'll look nice, but it's a monster. It's a monster that looks right down on you. But anyway, that's it.
Thank you. Any other commission comments or questions? Commissioner
Are
Biasotti.
you familiar with the Energy Upgrade California program?
I am familiar with it. I don't know all the details. Jim Shannon within our public services department is the project lead on that, but we do have a program here in San Bruno.
And there's a meeting around that next week?
The 23rd.
The 20th, yeah, I know there's a meeting for planners. Do you know any more about that?
No.
Okay, well, yeah, it's going to be posted on our website, so you could go to our website and the information will be there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Through the chair.
Commissioner Johnson.
Just want to acknowledge Tony back there in the
Yeah.
corner. Yay, welcome back. Good to see a familiar face.
On the T-Mobile application that was protested by a neighbor who didn't know about it, does that mean in order to cover people like instances like that, you have to notify all the legal owners plus send a copy to each resident?
Correct. I mean, the way to really catch everyone is you would send a letter to occupant, basically, and
Right.
then send a
That's
letter
what
to.
exactly.
So, I mean, there is a way that we could probably do it within our database, so it doesn't do it. There's not redundant notices sent out to people. But yeah, that would be the way that we do it, catch-all, and we do that in certain circumstances. We just didn't in this circumstance.
And Murphy's Law held when you don't follow that,
Yeah.
then you get a major protest.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Planning Commission discussion, that was that. Are there any other items that the commissioners might like to discuss? Okay. With that, we'll adjourn.